We are back as it's time to finally return to What's the Scoop as EX8 set spoiler has been released and we have all the cards that we will know coming out of EX8, and I do believe it's better to do EX8 first before we do the remaining cards from BT19 because we obviously know that EX8 will be coming before BT19. So as further ado, we're going to jump into BT8 today and we're going to be starting off with the Ice Snow cards that are being released to complete the Ice Snow strategy. These are Liberator focused, so we will be diving into them right now. But before, as always, I ask one little request of you, and that is simply to hit the like and subscribe button, accelerate the subs up as we're on the rise to 500 subscribers, and I would be glad to know if you're one of the people who helps join us. So we're going to get straight to it. As every time we do What's the Scoop, I just want to let you know that when you get a first look, so do I, as I get to inform you as you can sit back, relax, plug in if you want to just listen, put it in the background, or watch the video as a whole while I talk about these amazing cards and give you the information so you don't have to go anywhere else and you can get it right here. So jumping into EX8, interestingly enough, we have only 5 cards for the Ice Snow archetype or Ice Snow typing, but we have the shell of what the strategy is probably going to focus around, at least for right now, until we receive more support cards. But it's very interesting as we have an entire line except for an egg, and we have a brand new tamer. So let's jump straight into it as we start off with our first level 3 and the only level 3 released in the set for Ice Snow, and that's going to be Penguinmon, as Penguinmon will be digivolving from Hyarimon, which is basically guaranteed to be the egg, or at least the archetype focus egg for the Ice Snow typing for a cost of 0. And then during your turn, when this Digimon would digivolve into a Digimon card with the Ice Snow trait, you can reduce the Digi-Evolution cost by 1. Then this card is always treated as having the Ice Snow typing, and for its inheritable, when attacking, give one of your opponent's Digimon security attack -1 until the end of their turn. This card is an avian card, but it also is always having the Liberator typing, so that is important. Moving into the next one, we have an old Digimon finally receiving a revamp here, and this is going to be Frigimon. Frigimon returns as a dual color blue-yellow and can digivolve on top of any level 3 with the Ice Snow trait for its special evolution cost of 2, and it carries Ice Clad as its main skill. And more importantly, for its on-play when digivolving, you get to trash the bottom 2 Digi-Evolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon. Then, if your opponent has no Digimon with Digi-Evolution cards, you get to gain 1 memory. So pretty strong. For its inheritable, when attacking, you get to give one of your opponent's Digimon security attack -1 until the end of their turn. This is an Ice Snow Digimon, but more importantly, it also has Liberator in its typing. Moving into the brand new Polar Bearmon, this Digimon comes in as a dual color as well as blue as yellow, and is a new level 5. It can digivolve on top of any level 4 with the Ice Snow trait for a cost of 3. It carries Ice Clad as well as its main skill, and then when on play and when digivolving, you get to trash any 2 Digi-Evolution cards from your opponent's Digimon. Then one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digi-Evolution cards can't suspend or activate when digivolving effects until the end of their turn. For its inheritable, your turn while your opponent has no Digimon with Digi-Evolution cards, this Digimon with the Ice Snow trait gains piercing and security attack +1. Additionally, it is an Ice Snow Digimon and carries Liberator. So very strong for traits. Moving into the final one, we have SKADIMON here. This is the brand new level 6 to tie this archetype together. It is also a dual color blue-yellow and can digivolve on top of any level 5 with the Ice Snow trait for a cost of 3, and carries Ice Clad and Barrier as its main skills. And then for its when digivolving effect, you may play 1 level 4 or lower Ice Snow trait Digimon card from your hand without paying the cost. For each of your opponent's Digimon with no Digi-Evolution cards, you get to add 1 to this effect's level maximum. During when digivolving or when attacking once per turn, by placing 1 Digimon with no Digi-Evolution cards as the bottom security card, this Digimon can unsuspend. It is an Ice Snow card and more importantly, Liberator in trait. Finally, we have the last card. This is SUZUNE Kazuki, as she's a brand new blue tamer. And at the start of your main phase, if your opponent has a Digimon, you get to gain 1 memory. Then during all turns, when your Digimon or played or digivolve, if any of them have the Ice Snow trait, by suspending this tamer, trash any 1 Digi-Evolution card from your opponent's Digimon. For its security effect, you simply play it, and this is a Liberator tamer. So that is all the cards for Ice Snow. Now you're probably thinking, well, this is all very small and it is a very robust number, but let's talk about how good these cards actually are. Now, when looking at the Ice Snow traits for EX8, there's one and actually two major things we have to focus on. First is the introduction of Ice Snow cards that happen to be Liberator. So the main reason this is here is that this actually allows this strategy to be interacting with all the other Liberator cards, namely Vortex Resonance, but more importantly, this means that Liberator Ice Snow is more or less a thing. But this also means that the Liberator EX7 set that had the Blucomon and all the other Ice Snow cards have another line to work with. So the deck is, I would say, semi-playable in terms of being a Liberator deck, but is 100% playable when it comes to being an actual Ice Snow deck, thanks to the fact that there is three level 4 rookie or level 3 rookies, multiple champions you can pick from, and a really good top end. So this deck is technically, I would say, completed for what it is, but definitely it could use a lot more support in the future. Talking about one of the added benefits of this deck, it ties together all the available Ice Snow cards as well. If you have not watched my engine access based on the Kumamon and the Korikakumon line from specifically BT18, I do suggest watching that to understand how you can plug that strategy into this deck. Because of Penguinmon's ability to reduce the Digi-Evolution cost of Ice Snow Digimon, this does help out a lot when we're talking about playing Kumamon in this deck, because you can turn the dual-colored Kumamon's evolution from 3 to 2, making it a viable champion here, and Korikakumon would be a 3-cost evolution. But the main focus I want to talk about with that is that Ice Snow cards all have synergy right now with this card, meaning that Penguinmon, even if it's not that good right now, it will be much better if Ice Snow continuously gets more support, as this card really does allow the Ice Snow typing to take advantage of cheap evolutions, and we already know if you have a 1-cost champion, you're pretty much moving to the races with a lot of the strategy. Now, moving into some of the other cards, Frigimon and Polar Bearmon have very interesting effects that I love. I love the fact that they have on play and when Digivolving, which is seeming to be a brand new concept for a lot of these different Digimon, where instead of just having their when Digivolving effects, because they're champions and somewhat lower cost, they have the on play attached to it, which allows their very powerful when Digivolving effects to be usable if you hard play them, which I love. I like the fact that if you look at the design of Frigimon, what's cool here is that if you're when Digivolving on top of Penguinmon specifically, you could have a free evolution combined with its effect to reduce the evolution cost because of Frigimon being an Ice Snow. But more importantly, with Frigimon's effect, if your opponent has no Digimon with Digi-Evolution cards, you get to gain a memory, turning its evolution to free. If you have to hard play this for 5, the cool thing is if you strip the sources of an opponent's Digimon and you get to resolve its effect, you could play this for 4, and that's pretty average for what we'd expect with a champion. But because of its effects, because of its inheritable, it really does give a lot of power that the deck did not have, and more importantly, it gives this specific line strategy a lot of tools. Additionally, I love the when attacking inheritables to give security attack -1. The reason that blue-yellow actually works really well for these is that by stunning your opponent's Digimon in Frigimon and Penguinmon specifically, you get to really change the dynamic of how Ice Snow and a lot of stripping source decks had to function, as many of them have had to struggle with not being able to really do anything after they just strip sources. This actually allows you to kind of stall your opponent down with other effects while you're able to build quickly. So by keeping them from attacking you and also stripping sources is a really cool combination, and I think it goes really well here. Polar Bearmon is one I have to talk about because its when Digivolving and on play effect is just too good to not look at. The fact that it can stop one of your opponent's Digimon from being able to suspend and activate their when Digivolving effects is really good, because that can just paralyze an entire stack or paralyze an entire Digimon stack. It wouldn't have any evolution sources. Point is, you could stun a Digimon that really needs to Digivolve and then they can't use it, so that's powerful. Additionally, for its inheritable, this is just able to allow you to finish the game quicker. It allows your top end, which is pretty much had to use the lower end to slowly drag out a lot of the evolution sources, stun your opponent. This allows you to go on the aggression and try to close out the game, and I think that's really cool. Additionally, I love that SKADIMON is here because it really does mesh blue and yellow together well. More importantly, Iceclad really does take advantage here, because what this allows you to do is have a Digimon that can technically protect itself in security battles with barrier, but also it can run over a Digimon that have a lot of strip sources in the case of Iceclad. So I really like that dynamic because it gives this card basically effectively pseudo jamming, but more importantly, it just gives it a way to clear Digimon and then basically survive, so that's always unique. Additionally, it's when Digivolving effect to play these level 4 lower Ice Snow trade cards are fantastic in a game where you maybe just have an early way access to this and you're just going to pump out Digimon to go wide. But more importantly with this, I think the greatest thing is that it's additional buffing, those level 1 maximums added to it. Really does help out because you're stunning your opponent's board. You eventually are able to climb into this thing and play out a level 6, which you can do if you have 2 Digimon on your opponent's field with no evolution sources. I think that's bananas. If you've ever read the Liberator's story, you should check out SUZUNE's chapter, because it really does show how you're supposed to play the deck. Obviously, the synergy with Hexablaumon and its line from the EX7 is basically apparent here. It's it's not even being hidden here. It's designed really well. She uses both in her deck, so you can try them out. Additionally, for its when Digio when attacking effect, this effect I really did like this, because what I realized is after you look at the support at face value, maybe you know the interaction, but if you're not and you're a newer player, the cool thing is as you understand this deck, the amazing thing is by using barrier to protect, say for instance, the Skadimon through its attack, if it was to be deleted, you can then use it when attacking effect by allowing you to basically slot in a Digimon from your field. It does say specifically by placing one Digimon with no Digi-Evolution cards as the bottom security card. So in theory, this means it could also send one of your opponent's Digimon with no evolution cards to the bottom of their security. It could be yours as well. So I'm just making that clear. But the point is, by unsuspending with this Digimon, you're now changing the way that the direction of the game was going. And I think this really does allow the deck to pressure, but also it gives itself a way out. Because say, for instance, you need to have a security, maybe you're out of security, you can put one of your Digimon underneath your security and basically survive a turn. So that's already helpful. Additionally, you can put one of your opponent's Digimon into their security. So maybe you just need to get rid of, say, a random Ace Digimon or just any Digimon that you don't mind putting back. You could really do a lot of damage by doing that. And unsuspending just means you get more attacks. So obviously, SKADIMON is perfection on top of this specific line. Finally, we had to talk about SUZUNE. I think what makes SUZUNE very interesting is that unlike many of the other tamers so far, she actually doesn't have a way to play herself for free yet, so maybe in the future they'll fix that. But basically, you have to hard play SUZUNE, but SUZUNE really does fix some pretty good issues with the actual source stripping. So one thing I like is that it's when you basically trigger this when you Digivolve, and you're able to, as long as you have an Ice Snow card. So in theory, this card can work in non-Ice Snow decks, so you can choose that. And what I mean is, you don't have to specifically have an Ice Snow Digivolve in order to proc her effect. You can do it whenever, but you have to have an Ice Snow in play. So that's kind of the key thing. So you could run like some hodgepodge decks, you know what I mean? But the reason I like this is that it lets you specifically trash any one Digi-Evolution card. So for this, basically, if you want to rip a source that's specifically in your opponent's Digimon and you want to rip it out, you just do that. And I think it's important because for a lot of the trashing sources effects, we don't have ones that specifically target cards. You know, it's a very new concept that's been happening as of recent. So I do want to point out that this card definitely, and this tamer really does allow the deck to kind of have some really unique tools. Finally, this is also a Liberator tamer. So like I said before, like I said, if you ever watched my video about Vortex Resonance, I'm not just trying to plug my stuff. I'm just making this as a point. If you are watching and you see this, go ahead and check that video out to understand how good Vortex Resonance is, because this is a deck that I definitely feel like if it's able to gain either another SUZUNE and tamer, like another SUZUNE tamer, or have any way to play her for free, if it gets a little bit of another wave of specific Ice Snow that are Liberator cards, or Liberator Digimon as well, I do think that this archetype would be very good with Vortex Resonance, because this is a deck that wants to have like an intermediate, focus of its strategy. It wants to be able to strip sources. It wants to control the board with security attack -1. The scrambles would be not, I wouldn't say they wouldn't be useful, but the scrambles are probably not as good in this deck, but only because I don't see this deck really being as too aggressive. Like, it has Ice Clad to get rid of opponent's Digimon, but what I'm trying to say is I don't see this deck trying to lose a lot of bodies quickly. I see this deck really wanting to set up and then go for bigger plays and then effectively wound your opponent down. So maybe, combining this with a lot of the Tommy support I talked about for the blue hybrid would be cool, because I think Tommy in this deck really would be able to accelerate the play. Like I said, I'm not trying to plug the engine access, because you know, you watch it if you want, but I am trying to tell you, if you want to see how good those cards are, try it out. I think in this deck together, I definitely can see the BT18 Kumamon really slotting well in with the Ice Snow cards here, because it'll just allow you to kind of either go into Korikakumon or allow you to kind of just have that extra push. And also Tommy adding a stunning element to the deck would be really cool, because then you can also give them security attack -1. Also, you can keep your opponent's Digimon from being able to attack at all. So those are just things I wanted to point out here. But pretty much that's all I've got for you guys today. I do like how good this strategy is. I do not think that you really need to talk. I need to talk too much about like Hexablaumon and the other Ice Snow cards, because pretty much you're gonna play them together. I don't really think you can with it, because it would just help the synergy a lot more. But pretty much this is what we've got for Ice Snow and EX8, and I do hope you guys enjoyed it today. But as always, this has been Brad from the Ad Army signing off, and for all of you out there, to sign on.